This segment of the Alice Stewart Show is brought to you by Aero Plumbing. For all your household or business plumbing needs, call Aero Plumbing at 1-866-PLUMBER or schedule an appointment online at aeroplumbing.net.
Welcome back to the Alice Stewart Show, 7:35 on a beautiful Monday morning. In the spin room this morning, Taylor Riddle, Democratic Party of Arkansas Executive Committee member and Democratic House Caucus Director, and Hogan Gidley, Arkansas native, former Executive Director of the South Carolina GOP and Senior Political Advisor at BrabenderCox. Taylor and Hogan, great to have you here.
Good morning. Having us.
And I'm sure you saw over the weekend the Sunday morning shows, which is what we love to break down on Monday mornings. President Obama addressed Chuck Todd on his first appearance on Meet the Press. It was a great interview. And, of course, the main topic was ISIS, the threat of ISIS, and what the U.S. will do in light of their growing threat in the region and the beheading of 2 American journalists. President Obama says he is ready now to lay out a plan. Last week there was no strategy. Now he is ready to lay out a plan Wednesday evening before the nation. He talked to Chuck Todd on Meet the Press and says he is confident that he can build a coalition to fight the extremist threat of ISIS.
What I want people to understand, though, is that over the course of months, we are going to be able to not just blunt the momentum of ISIL, we are going to systematically degrade their capabilities. We're going to shrink the territory that they control. And ultimately, we're going to defeat them.
Hogan?
Well, I hope so. I think that's a good idea, and it's a really strong sentiment for the United States, and I think it's in our best interest. The problem, I'm not even really concerned as to why he didn't see this threat until now. That's old news. Now we're focused on actually doing something about it, which is what we discussed on this show I'm all about. So what does that look like, and what does that mean? We're going to see a bigger explanation of this, I guess, on Wednesday night from the president. They've already started an air campaign, obviously. It looks like the administration officials say it's a 3-pronged approach. It's the air campaign, which has already started, I just mentioned. Second, it's to train and equip, active Iraqi military, Kurdish fighters, possibly some Sunni tribes, and then also destroy the terrorist groups inside Syria. Now, I don't know how you do any of that effectively without actually putting boots on the ground. Because what he's been doing so far, these airstrikes, obviously you need more, because he wouldn't be talking about doing more. The question then becomes, what does that look like, and what does the coalition that he is building, what are they willing to bear politically in their own home countries, but also militarily in the potential lives lost and any economic ramifications of doing something or not doing something, and that's something we're going to have to wait to see until Wednesday until he outlines it.
And Taylor, what we're hearing now, I mean, do you feel as though he has the ability to build a coalition?
I would hope so. There's definitely a lot of things regarding this situation that the president's done that I don't really care about per se, especially in Libya. But one of the big issues that I really do see from the president is that if we don't handle the situation in Syria, I said Libya a second ago, but if we don't handle the situation in Syria, we're not going to be able to handle the situation in Iraq or any of the rest of the Middle East where they've spread to. The reality of it is that the big problem that we have is in Syria, because al-Assad's still there. We're having to fight against al-Assad. We're arming the rebel forces that are fighting al-Assad, but then the ISIS rebels are overthrowing the rebels that we're arming to take out al-Assad, and they're using the weapons against us. I don't think that putting boots on the ground solves anything. I think that we've done that before, and until the people step up and stop extremism, period, putting boots on the ground is going to basically lead us to the same situation that we're in until the government over there steps up.
And
so, for people to call for boots on the ground, I think that I would be skeptical of that, but we definitely need to take action swiftly, and I think we need to handle the situation in Syria first to limit the impact of ISIS in Iraq.
And the president has said he will meet with members of Congress tomorrow and address the nation on Wednesday night. And here he is talking with Chuck Todd about plans moving forward.
This is not the equivalent of the Iraq War. What this is similar to the kinds of counterterrorism campaigns that we've been engaging in consistently over the last 5, 6, 7 years. And the good news is that because of American leadership, we have, I believe, a broad-based coalition internationally and regionally to be able to deal with the problem.
Taylor, your thoughts? I mean, has there been American leadership, and are you confident he will have a strategy or a way to deal with this come Wednesday evening when he addresses the nation? Hogan, your thoughts?
Yeah. Well, because of leadership, American leadership. Well, because of lack of American leadership, we're to the place we are now, and I think that's really the main issue. Look, it's no shock, it should be no surprise to anyone listening. Once America pulled out of the region, whether you agreed with the pullout or not, this is the resulting chaos. This is what happens when a stabilizing, rational, reasonable force like the United States leaves an irrational place. This is what happens immediately upon our departure, and that is the whole place falls into chaos. So now it's not that we have to fix the original problem. Now we have to fix the original problem plus the new problem, which is worse than the original problem. This is kind of what we're talking about. No one on the Republican side I know of is really advocating for boots on the ground, but we're all looking to leadership at the top to tell us just how you expect to defeat an enemy and then turn around and stabilize the region so it doesn't happen again without boots on the ground. I've not seen anyone lay out a plan, and I doubt the president's going to do the same thing, or he may try, but he's going to fail, to lay out a plan that says this is the way you stabilize with drone attacks and airstrikes. That's just not going to happen. Sooner or later, you've got to have some stabilizing forces put back on the ground. But what this does politically, if I'm going to shift from actual nuts and bolts to the politics of it, this is a big fat you were right about on the plate of Hillary Clinton, going, I told you this is what we differentiated ourselves in the 2008 election, and now I'm proved correct on my thought and my theory, and it really gives her a lot of credibility moving into a potential 2016 fight for the nomination of the Democratic Party.
Taylor, your thoughts on, do you think that the president does have now a strategy to help deal with ISIS? And we will find that out on Wednesday.
You know, I definitely think that he was going to have a strategy to handle ISIS, and I don't think that it's necessarily one that's partisan. I think that he's going to have counsel from many folks on all different sides of the political spectrum here within our government. But, you know, the deal isn't, like I said initially, is if we do not handle the situation in Syria, it's not going to get better in Iraq. And the only real way that we can handle this, I mean, this is about people having a government that isn't going to pander to extremism. This is about people stepping up to the plate and implementing governments in countries like Syria and Iraq that give all people a voice at the table. And I think that's part of the reason that you see breeding grounds in the Middle East for extremism, because some of their governments do not allow people to have a seat at the table. And until that happens, you know, I don't see anything really changing in the Middle East, and I don't think that the boots on the ground approach would help impact that in a positive manner. I think that it's going to take...
It would help, Taylor. It's not going to solve the problem. It's not going to solve the problem, but it's going to help. I mean, look, I hope the president does try to get some... he's talking about seeking coalitions around the globe. He should do that, definitely. But he doesn't have a coalition within his own chambers of Congress, the House or the Senate right now, and that's a problem, too. So hopefully, when he goes to meet with the folks on the Hill, that he talks with them and not to them on this issue, because it's been very obvious, whether he called this group JV about a year ago, whether he ignored them altogether, the airstrikes, the potential for boots on the ground, he's really not looped in Congress on any of it. So for him to do this now shows that he's kind of struggling a little bit, trying to figure out what to do because he didn't do it right the first time. Now you got to come and pay to do it over again, and we're seeing some of that payment in the form of some political problems for the president.
Look, I don't think I don't know what you're saying that he didn't get right the first time. I mean, if you're talking about the drawdown, I think the public opinion was on his side in that. And normally when you're president and you're handling the United States military, the public is who you want in your corner. So I don't think that he didn't handle, you say that he didn't handle that right, I guess is what you're stating. I disagree with that. But, you know, if we do not try to, I guess, bring in countries from not only Europe and the Western nations, but if we don't get other countries involved in the Middle East in general, this is going to be a bigger threat than just Iraq and Syria. And I think that the diplomacy side, you know, we've got to have all hands on deck for this, because this is not something that is about, a war on economics. This is not a war on industrial growth. This is a war against extremists and extremist attitudes. And, you know, I think that diplomatically, this is the only way that we're going to be able to handle it, is if every country agrees to step up to the plate and address this in a manner that will stop and not tolerate extremist views. And I think that that's what we've got to do, and we've got to.
But if they don't, we've got the responsibility. If they don't, the responsibility falls on the United States. And the problem is, as I mentioned before, we can argue about his strategy all day long. The problem is he ignored this threat for a long time, and now we're looking at the ramifications of him just ignoring the problem, putting his head in the sand. It's gotten a lot worse. 200,000 people are dead.
He did engage with the problem by arming the rebels in Syria that were fighting against al-Assad. And then you see that out of that, ISIS spurs up, and that they end up fighting the rebels that we armed to fight al-Assad, and ISIS ends up with a lot of the weapons that we had provided. So, you know, people said that we ought to do something in Syria, and we did. Now we've got a strategic problem from the standpoint that now the weapons that we've armed the rebels to take out al-Assad with, they've ended up in the hands of ISIS, and they're using them against us in Iraq.
All right, we're gonna have to wrap that segment up there. Strategic crisis problem is certainly an understatement. We got a big mess over there. Taylor Riddle, Hogan Gidley, stick around. We're going to take a break and come back, and we will continue the conversation on news of the weekend, shifting the focus to immigration and what the president has said on immigration. We'll be back after this on the Alice Stewart Show. This segment of the program brought to you by Aero Plumbing. For all of your household or business plumbing needs, call Aero Plumbing, 1-866-PLUMBER, or schedule an appointment online at aeroplumbing.net.